Sparky Studio.
Yeah. Hello, this is Eric of Sparky Studio, and welcome to my review of the Godox Verso M2. This particular mic system is, well, it's a dual mic system, and it has internal recording. It has battery life up to 17 hours. When it comes to these microphone systems and internal recording, we can actually apply our own SD cards, spring-loaded, and up to 400 hours of backup recording using a 256 gigabyte micro SD card. 400 hours of audio on one card. In fact, I can simply swipe it out and replace it with another card. And that is one of the killer features of this. Among its 17 hours of battery life, we're going to test if we can charge this at the same time as using this, of course, because that's something that might be important to you. It is now time to see if I can charge this microphone while recording with it. And yes, it is charging while I'm recording with it. And now I'm going to go to internal audio. So how am I coming through in the internal audio? And now I'll charge the receiver end. Right now I'm connecting to that receiver end, and now it's connected. Is there any difference in audio? It is now time for an RF frequency test to see if I can actually interfere with the 2.4 gigahertz of this microphone and the receiver. For those that don't know, my wireless mouse, my wireless keyboard is both 2.4 gigahertz. My Bluetooth and my Wi-Fi have been on this entire time I've been testing this. My light up here, cob light, is 2.4 gigahertz. It has wireless. And also this one is controlled wirelessly as well. That's another key light by Godox actually. It's the ES45 sports light, esports light. So let's see how this handles RF interference with my mobile phone. Wi-Fi and Bluetooth turned on right against this device. Okay, now let's go to that receiver end to see if there's any reception noise or something. We are now checking the receiver end. And I don't seem to notice anything in the waveform, so if we didn't hear any noise, there will be no comments. If we did, I'll leave a comment above. Now let's get to the accessories included with this device. For wind muffs. And this happens to be a dual system, so it has two of these. Our auxiliary cable, we can see it's stereo TRS. And this is normally to our camera, and it's nice that it has this nice spring function to give us more room. So we have three devices, and we can charge three devices with our one USB-A port to each device having a USB Type-C. And I've now confirmed that this is indeed a data cable connection. You can charge all the devices, of course, with one USB. And should you want to be able to carry the charging case, we also have an included holder. So you connect this to you and go to your charging case and weave it into the corner and then simply hold it. To connect to a sound card. So if your phone does not have an auxiliary port, I take a sound card such as this one and I connect that to my USB Type-C port on my phone. Also included is a user manual, and for that wired lavalier that's included with this, because there are two of them, the length itself is, well, right from my head all the way down to my knees, and I'm 5'5", so that should give you an idea of how much length we have. Right now, this is not recording. I'm going to press the button just momentarily. And we see it flashing. That tells me it's recording. I just press it again. And it's no longer recording, just that simple. And right here, I have a card in my memory slot that's purchased separately, mind you. But I've already recorded some recordings to test to see if everything matches up timeline-wise. We also have a USB port for charging, or doing data to the PC, I guess, if you want to interface it, but we'll test more of that in a moment. We see there's a lav port there, and we literally connect through our lav port to put the furry muff on. if we see here, there's a power symbol. So if I hold down this button, I'm going to power it off. There it is now powered off. And on the back side, we have our little clip to our belt. And we also have the little charging contacts right down here. And those contacts interact with the contacts on this charging case to charge. Now to do a quick tour of the receiver end that connects to the camera or to mobile phone or to PC. Here is a quick adjustment for volume, and you click that and you get the menu. Here we have our camera connection port and a headphone port. We have our standard hot shoe, cold shoe connection. And we have a power button right here. And down here, a menu button. We'll notice with these lights, there's 2 of them that are possible. And that is microphone 1 or microphone 2 connected. So that's how you're going to know what is connected to the device. Here we have USB charging if you want to charge it via USB by itself. And let's go into our volume menu first. And we can scroll through our volume settings as we see here. And I can change the volume of one of the mics at a time just by turning the little wheel on top as we see on screen right now. If I mute it, we can see the mute on screen. So it's red here, but we can see the little mute symbol on the one microphone that is now muted. And if I press it again, we see that that symbol goes away. And if I press record, we'll see that red flashing light. Let's brighten the screen again. It's set to 30 seconds to actually dim. And we can see a little record symbol on the side here as well. Right down here is our little menu button. So the first thing on the menu is backlight. To enter that menu, I just press the top and I can scroll through to change the backlight dimming to 10 seconds, 30 seconds, or 60 seconds. I will put 60 for now. I see denoise and I can turn it off or on. And we go to pair. We have the option of pairing to the different microphones. I want to avoid being in that part of the menu, so I am going to press the menu button and go out. Track. And our menu that first shows up is mono, where both left and right speaker are combined into one. There's no separating each speaker. Then, of course, we have stereo, where you have left and right speakers. And then that way, if you want to, you can edit and post. If one is being quieter, one person, you can now boost the audio individually if with an editor. And then we also have what is called safety. A safety track is where you have one speaker louder than the other speaker. So if this one is clipping on the one speaker, you go to the other side through the editor and then you don't have clipped audio. Now let's get to where I have me and someone else together doing both mono and stereo audio.
My hat fell off. Are they seeing my bald head, Eric?
That seems to be a common theme among being here. You lose your hair being on this Spark E studio channel.
It's stressful, Eric. Is it really stressful?
Oh, you wouldn't believe it. And right now we are in stereo. One is on the left channel and one is on the right channel for speakers, which means I could boost audio on one left or right channel if I need to in post. So let's edit and post and now listen to the track.
Is this working for you? So we're testing the device. Is it working, Eric?
I can actually see the audio waveforms. If I want to, I can speak closer, but I can actually level out the volume. But I want to change it now to mono, so there's no dynamics between left and right speaker. Though if you're using a phone, you probably wouldn't notice the difference.
Sorry, Eric. I fell asleep a little bit.
And now we are back in mono. That means both of us are the same level.
Wait, Eric, we have mono?
Mono, yes. It's catchy, I heard too.
Okay.
Because you're stuck with mono as well.
Oh no, I have oh no. Well, I'm a puppet. I won't catch you in diseases. You're in trouble though. I'm warm, I'm cuddly, I'm a puppet. This works for me. And I like dinosaurs.
Oh, I forgot to mention, we're both using lavalier audio now, so these lavaliers are what you're actually hearing. Did you actually create this face?
What? Are you saying there's something wrong with my face?
Did you create the face? Did you like sew it on? Did you like
Are you saying there's something wrong with my face, Eric? Are you calling me ugly?
I'm saying, how do you make it? Did you make it or did you buy it?
It's a bit of paper, fabric, and felt. And no, I didn't make it, but the guy with his hand up my you-know-what made it. And I think he did a really good... I'm handsome.
Audio alignment is perfect with Sony. First, I tried my Fujifilm camera, and I tried both the Fujifilm X10 T4 and the XS20, and both slightly misaligned. Luckily, just like the Holly Landmark Max, there are new files every 30 minutes. Now what you want to see is transferring files when connected USB through here versus using a different method. So let's get to it. Right now we're seeing the internal memory files, and I'm going to copy them over to a folder. I have one right here called copy to. Watch how slow this is going to be. I already started copying it. I just want to see how fast it's going to get up to. And it's copying very, very slow, as you can see, but we now sped up a bit to 1.39 megabytes per second. Here's my Lexar card, and I have an adapter to connect this to SD. So that's what I'll do. Connect it into my ProGrade. And now it's copied. Do we see the difference? So that's what I recommend if you want to actually transfer your files faster. Right now I'm speaking to you through my Android mobile phone using the phone connector and the sound card. And this is the Xiaomi 12X. I'm using Open Camera. I could use the built-in camera app on this particular mobile phone, but most Android mobile phones have horrible audio without the use of an app, so be mindful of that. We have the Verso and the Verso S, and that is the one that connects directly to Sony. As we can see, an interface connection on the back of this particular model. And this allows a wireless connection and gives us cleaner audio on that version if you're using a Sony camera with digital connection type. First of all, let's do an SPL test. That is a sound pressure level test. And the point of this is to see how loud you can shout. Yes, I'm going to turn the camera volume down so it's not clipping before I distort the microphone. A distorted microphone sounds like clipping, but it's not, but it sounds very similar. So let's get to it. I now have the receiver set to number 1 volume, and I have internal recording going to see if it can save anything. Save this microphone or not. Right here we have my internal recording, which happened to actually clip. And here we have to the camera, since I was on volume 1 out of 20. If I go on volume 0 out of 20, it's completely mute. Now, if I shrink this down, you can see that the audio actually clipped. You see this top is cut off versus a little fuzzy looking. That means it clipped. However, the audio between the internal recording and this recording, when being extremely loud, is identical sounding. For our first test, I'm going to test with the DD V-Mic D4 to see if I can make this wireless. And it won't power on unless this has mic power. So let's try this out. We could see that green light, and yes, it's powered on, and that's what I'm speaking to you on right now with the DD V-Mic D4. And this means it can power on and off the Rode NTG video mic as well. Awesome. Let's get to some wired lavaliers now. You're now listening to me on the Rode Lavalier 2 without the connector because this does not have a thread on lavalier port. How am I coming through? It's in all the way. So that's a test of this particular lavalier. Let's go to next. You're now listening to me using the DD Lav with DA35 microdot. How am I coming through with this particular lavalier connected to this device? Right now what you're hearing is the X-Vive LV2, and I turn up the volume on this device all the way to max, which is level 20, because this wired lavalier is fairly silent. I don't know about the self noise, if it's going to be noisy or not, but hey, this is a test. Right now you're listening to me using the Sennheiser MKE Essential omnidirectional lavalier. This requires a lot of gain, and I'll have to boost it in post, so I do expect a decent amount of hiss. And let's test about direction of audio and how directional it is. If I turn this way, do you hear me the same? What if I turn back up, or turn out, or turn down? How am I speaking? How am I coming through? And of course, if I talk far away, or if I talk up close, how does that change the audio levels or the tone of the audio? And of course, if I am speaking too close to the capsule, I will plosive, plosive, plosive. Now it is time to test the audio difference of to the camera versus internal audio. So we're going to do a quick line and compare the two. I'll have above my head which one is which, but first we'll do to the camera first. The fox with socks jumped into the box. His fur shone like the sun. When the fox runs, he runs down, 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 down the darkish hole. How is that for audio? The fox with socks jumped into the box. His fur shone like the sun. When the fox runs, he runs down, 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 down the darkish hole. How is that for audio? What is the difference between the Verso M2 and the Verso S? The Verso S interacts with the Sony camera. It allows direct connection, digital connection. There are actually connections on the back of the hot shoe that are digital to the Sony camera, as long as your camera has that. And that will give you better clarity. So if you're looking for the best audio clarity possible, I recommend spending a little bit extra money to get the Verso S. How this connects to a regular hot shoe, not the Sony, because this is the M2. Connecting this to the hot shoe or cold shoe is very simple, but one thing we must mind is the display is facing on top, so you may have to remove it in order to see the display. And it slides in like, see, very, very simple. There's a little bit of wiggle room because it is fairly thin for the backside, but we have this nice cable that allows us some room to move it around, and that makes it really nice to use. It's probably the windiest day I ever recorded in. And the one advantage is I can try Denoise to find out if there's a difference in wind noise, because it's almost impossible to not have wind noise under this circumstance. I now have Denoise turned on. It's still fairly breezy. Is there any difference in sound? I have no clue. For the rest of this testing, Denoise will be turned off for the most natural sound possible. I'm going to go around this building and we're going to see how it cuts out, if it cuts out at all, which every mic so far tested has always cut out when facing away from line of sight as I went around the building. And how far I go around the building will be a difference. However, I do have the camera further back. For some reason, it's more zoomed in than normal. And most mics start to cut out around here, and I'm probably going to expect around, well, I'm expecting that you won't be able to hear me. And if you still are hearing me, that would be really impressive. And I'm going around the building on the back side, right in. I'm getting to the next corner on the back side, and they're still walking, and we are getting along the next half of the building, and I should be coming around the corner anytime soon here, and we should be able to see me now. And we're going to go behind the tree right around this apartment. So let's see if this is behind this tree and a pole, if I cut out or not. I'm going to go slowly. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? As I get blocked by the tree and the pole. This is the best result I've ever seen. Like I'm talking about, that's better than the full aim X5. It's better than the Ceramic Blink Me. It's better than the Hollyland Lark Max. It's better than, well, the Rode Wireless Go 2. I am totally blown away here. Now let's continue on with the reception distance test, where I do turn around to see where it starts to cut out. And we are approaching right now 15 feet, 4.5 meters away from the camera. Let's do a turnaround. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? And if we're good there, we are good for line of sight. But most of all that matters is 25 feet, 7.5 meters. That is the most telling distance to see if line of sight actually is usable. So you can actually bend over in your footage or not. And if we were good there, that's generally your use case. We're now at 50 feet. 15 meters away from the camera. I'm going to do a turnaround. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? And let's keep going. We have a bunch of signs all laid out at 25 feet difference, which is 7.5 meters difference apart. We are now at 75 feet, 25 meters, and let's do a turnaround. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? And of course, listen for the recovery of the microphone when it does cut out to see if there's any sort of noise that may cause interference. We are now at 100 feet, 30 meters away. Let's do a turnaround. Testing the mic, testing 1, 2, 3. And let's keep going. 100 feet away, most mics don't really make it that far. Usually about 50 is where most microphones cut out for line of sight. But we're going to keep on going. And we are 125 feet, 37.5 meters away. Let's do a turnaround. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Now, I've only tested about 2 different wireless mic systems out of probably 20 of them that has ever made it that distance away. We are 150 feet, 45 meters away. Can you hear me? 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 Let's keep going. And at this point, the only microphone to ever make it to 175 feet that I know of was a DJI mic. Best reception distance ever, but not the best under all circumstances. We're at now 175 feet, 52.5 meters. Let's do a turnaround. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? The one thing, of course, the DJI mic does not have denoise, and it picks up every little sound, which makes that mic not as good as this one for most use cases. We're at 200 feet, 60 meters away, and let's do a turnaround. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can you hear me? And no mic has ever made 200 feet away without cutting out, ever. And we're now at 400 feet, 120 meters away. And I'll just keep on going till I'm out of sight because I can. And somewhere around here would be at 425 feet. And remember, you add 7.5 meters to the distance I did last. And we're going to keep on going. And now we are getting out of sight. There's going to be no way on earth to hear me at this point. With its large size, you may think this weighs quite a bit. It's actually super light considering. This I weighed at about 30 to 31 grams, and this is about 32 to 33 grams. It fluctuates on my little scale here. So yeah, this is super light. Now you may wonder about battery life. I actually tested each device to find out what I got, and the receiver end, that's the part that connects to the camera, lasted 14 hours and 30 minutes. Compared to its actual rating of 13 hours. So we have an impressive result here. When doing internal recording using a memory card, the battery life greatly dropped off to 4 hours and 18 minutes. However, we can charge the devices while using them, and it does not affect the audio. Now, how about when not using internal recording and just using the mic to record? We had over 17 hours of battery life. At that point, I just gave up. That's just insane. Great reception distance. And the main thing, of course, about the reception distance is the line of sight. So you can actually bend down or grab something behind you and it won't cut out. It's reliable that way. RF interference, not a problem. So overall, a great system. The 16-bit internal recording, what might affect you is if you record at really low volumes and then boost it up, you'll introduce hiss. And it has an SPL of 110, which means if you do a lot of shouting and you have the mic close by, it could cause some distortions of the microphone sound if shouting really loud. So note that one. This is Eric of Sparky Studio. Thanks for watching and have yourselves a most wonderful day.